Have you ever stopped to think where the concept of a university came from? Did you know that it was actually a Muslim woman who invented the world's first university? Well, I'm here to talk all about it, from the origins of the world's first degree-granting university, its story, and the notable scholars who studied there, and I'll be talking about it while I do my makeup. So if you and I were roaming around in the Middle East, particularly in the 9th century, it's likely that we would either be scholars studying religion, philosophy, or math, or we'd be merchants trading silk and spices, or we'd be artisans or peasants. And we would be living during the Islamic Golden Age. Now, the Islamic world was experiencing what historians called the translation movement, which was centered at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. And this was originally built by Caliph al-Rashid as a library named Khazanat al-Hikmah, which translates to Library of Wisdom. And this library had manuscripts that were collected by al-Rashid's father and grandfather, and eventually it turned into Bayt al-Hikmah, which translates to the House of Wisdom. Now, both men and women from all faiths and ethnicities would travel there because the manuscripts were in so many different languages. Now, not too far away, the city of Fez, Morocco, was also a thriving center of commerce, culture, and scholarship, attracting many scholars and students because of its cosmopolitan nature, along with consistent waves of Arab immigrants from Tunisia and Cordoba, Spain. Now, among those immigrants was Fatima Al-Fihri, who immigrated from the city Kairouan in Tunisia, and she migrated with her family, and her father, Muhammad Al-Fihri, was a successful Arab merchant who allegedly came from the tribe Quraysh, which was a famous Bedouin tribe that used to live in Mecca. And while the family wasn't necessarily rich at first, Fatima and her sister Maryam eventually inherited a large fortune when the male members of their family passed away. And these fabulous women didn't care to buy luxury clothing or items, though there's nothing wrong with that, but instead they wanted to use their fortune to invest in sadaqah, which is the Islamic term for charity. So Maryam founded the Elandaloo Mosque, or the Mosque of the Andalusians, and actually many Spanish immigrants helped build that mosque. And her sister Fatima created Jama Al-Qarawiyyin, or the Qarawiyyin Mosque. And this mosque was named after her beloved hometown in Tunisia, Kairouan or Kairouan. And Qarawiyyin actually means belonging to the people of Kairouan. I hope I'm saying that right. Now, Fatima went all out for this mosque, and she invested in the best engineers and architects and used the best materials, and it followed a traditional Islamic architectural layout. But this mosque also had a library. Now, historians say it took about 2 years to create this mosque, or the buildings of the mosque, and some scholars suggest that there were teachings happening from the very beginning of the creation of the mosque. Now, most mosques at the time were like this, where they had multifunctional buildings that were used for teaching or civic activities, but this particular mosque developed into an institution for higher learning, which attracted many international scholars from both the Muslim world and eventually Europe. These scholars include Muslim historian Ibn Khaldun and Jewish scholar Joseph Maimonides and Andalusian diplomat Leo Africanus. Now, historians haven't actually pinpointed when Al-Qarawiyyin became a place for higher learning, but some suggest that the mosque began to grant qualifying certificates to scholars between 1040 to 1147, making Al-Qarawiyyin the world's first degree-granting institution. And this set the standard for universities around the world to follow in the future. So who are some of the notable scholars that studied in this legendary university, Al-Qarawiyyin, and what did they go on to do? Well, probably one of the most notable scholars to study there from the Western world is Pope Sylvester II, and he is credited with introducing the Hindu-Arabic numerals to the Western world, which eventually led to the transition from using Roman numerals to Arabic numerals. There was also Al-Idrisi, who influenced Renaissance geographers by introducing some of the most advanced medieval maps of the world including maps that showed Europe, Asia, and Africa all together at one time for the first time. Rabbi Maimonides also studied at Al-Qarawiyyin, and he began writing about astronomy, contributing to lunar understandings of the moon for the Jewish calendar. He also produced the Mishnah Torah, which was a 14-volume compendium on Jewish law. Now, because Al-Qarawiyyin is still standing, we also know of some more modern notable figures who studied there, including Elal al-Fassi, who led the independence movement in Morocco in 1912 after the French takeover. And Ahmed Benini, who served as Morocco's prime minister in the 60s, also studied there. So these incredible scholars and notable figures studied at Al-Qarawiyyin, the world's first university, which was invented by a woman, which shaped international higher learning that we know of today, which has influenced so many of the practices and innovations that we use and enjoy. The halakha system, or circular discussions, has been adopted by many modern academic institutions, and Al-Qarawiyyin's integration of secular and religious studies has also served as a model for interdisciplinary studies and has definitely influenced liberal arts. And even the university's preservation and archiving system has also influenced how universities catalog and store their own manuscripts. And of course, Al-Qarawiyyin pioneered the first degree-granting educational system, and its multicultural learning environment also serves as a model for international student programs. Also, the fact that it's still up and running is a great example of institutional longevity, considering that it's literally the oldest running university in the world. Now, if you made it all the way here, I want to know who your favorite historical scholar is and where they studied, and let me know if you learned anything and what you want me to talk about next. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And if you want to read more about this particular topic that I just talked about, as always, all sources in the comments.